Personally, I feel when you put a number value on a mandatory non-instructional fees, it's more on principle. Like really, a couple of dollars here and there. We're all on a student budget, but $2 more a year or something isn't a big deal. But if that $2 more is a 100% increase, then what's the next year going to be, right? You see a large thing, or a large change, and it's just on principle, right? And with mandatory non-instructional fees, it's for services and levies for groups on campus, like Women's Center, which you can opt out of paying. Those are what non-instructional fees are supposed to be for. But what we want to fight against is backdoor tuition, like just charging extra money that goes just directly into funding courses instead of it's just kind of a way of going around a tuition cap, and that's what we really want to fight against.
Thank you for the question. I think the biggest thing I guess I would say to why everyone has to pay for the Women's Center or student union fees, I guess it's a way to build community. I mean, not every single person in sitting here uses the same services, and there are people that pay for different things that don't use it. I mean, there are people that everyone pays for the same thing, but everyone uses things differently. And I think the idea is that we're stronger when we all put into the pot and we get to use what we choose. You have less choice when you start taking your money out because everyone else is going to start doing the same. And so you don't really understand the consequences of taking your $5 out of the Campus Women's Center when you realize that the grant that you were proposing is now not funded because this organization is taking their money out because it doesn't affect all students. So I think community and making sure that we're all supporting each other is definitely the best way when it comes to thinking about those type of fees, separate from mandatory non-instructional fees from the university.
That's a great question. I think that's something that can actually really illustrate the difference between the university mandatory non-instructional fees and mandatory non-instructional fees that we charge, such as those. So with those fees, they were all put to a referendum, which was decided on by students to pay. And one comment, I guess, retort to that as well. I wasn't part of that referendum. Certain of those fees can be opted out of, if you so choose. But the difference between that fee, which is mandatory non-instructional fee that is charged, don't get me wrong, it's not for instruction, and the university's mandatory non-instructional fee is it does have to be put to a student referendum, like certain questions on our ballot during the voting this year. So really, when we talk about mandatory non-instructional fees that the university charge, it's the principle of it not being put to a student vote and the students deciding the value of it. But really good question.
It's a little disappointing Sean got to go before me because then stole some of my thunder. But I'm going to talk to you about it anyway. So for your time here, if you go to the U of L for 4 years, you're looking about paying $8 for the Women's Center if you're taking 8 semesters of school. With mandatory non-instructional fees that the university passed through, we say it's a 300% increase to make it look large, but it is a large increase. That's an extra $1,000 a year, or sorry, $1,000 over the life of your university career that you'll be paying. So to put in perspective to you, you're looking at less than 1% what the Women's Center fee is to the mandatory non-instructional fee. So you hear us talking up here about mandatory non-instructional fees. They are a big deal. There's universities' way of giving us backdoor tuition and charging us extra fees for services. Some of these mandatory non-instructional services that they provide us are essential services like the registrar's office and various other things on campus that we feel are required to provide a good academic experience at the university, but they still continue to charge those fees. So mandatory non-instructional fees I'm very opposed to. The Women's Center, when I first came here, I had the exact same question, but it turns out, it's $8 and it's supporting a group on here that they're a large group on campus, and it's important that we represent them by giving them an outlet where they can go for help.